I do enjoy these episodes when I can respond to some of your comments in depth. I get the best comments, but there's no time to respond to as many as I like. And even when I do, I can never really take the time to do them in detail, like giving a paragraph or two where they deserve that paragraph or two. So now, if you join Patreon, even at the $5 level, I respond to everything you send. So that's even part of the $5 deal. Now, if you do the $10, oh, by the way, this is Randy Kirk. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify. Later on tonight, of course, after the football games, well, just before the Sunday night football game, you'll have your regular Monday morning report, which comes out on Sunday night. And there we are going to talk about all the financial news that's coming in the future week. We'll talk about the Tesla news that's happened in that 24 hours from this afternoon until when I do that one. And then we'll combine those two and we'll say, well, where's Tesla maybe going to be headed this week, and see what you guys think about my prognostications, because I'm never right or wrong. I'm always one of the other. Anyway, buy the Cybertruck. Buy this. At the end, I'm going to give you, just remember, it's $20 no matter how many you buy, and it's paypal.me/Randy Kirk. Don't forget to say camo or regular, and if you're outside the country, to add that other $20. Okay. So first question, our first comment comes from user-JS1NG3SB5W. The comment is that this person believes that Randy runs on lithium. So, all right, let me get a little personal here. I began life as a small child, and that was in St. Louis, Missouri, born in St. Louis Maternity Hospital, actually, and lived at the very edge of St. Louis just before I moved into University City. And I lived with my grandparents on my mother's side. The Plummer was the last name. And for the first 3 months, we lived there. But you see, there was this issue. I had a really loud cry. I don't know how that happened, but man, it's driving my grandfather nuts. And so eventually he kind of persuaded us that maybe the other grandparents could take a turn. So my dad went to his dad, and his dad had just kicked out. That's probably unkind. He had just persuaded one of my dad's older brothers to move out with his family. And so he wasn't really ready for another family to move in, especially one who maybe had a reputation of having a really loud baby. Anyway, he then put up, I think $500 to help my dad make a down payment on a house in Ferguson, Missouri. Yes, that Ferguson. And that was just a few miles away. And anyway, so my dad got his first house because of my loud mouth. And that's enough of that story, I think. So this is not a new phenomenon that I make a lot of noise. All right. So next we have Retoracy9679. I'm sure I pronounced that completely wrong. Investing. Oh, so this was, remember, we talked about what were the risks associated with Tesla going forward. And I said, hey, is there a risk that I missed? And so this one was, investing in too many new plants at the same time may be a risk. In other words, could outgrow cash flow. Mexico, India, Indonesia. The $25,000 car might be too much at once to do all those places. All have merit, but they could stretch resources too thin unless prioritized. So, okay, that's absolutely true. There's always the possibility of running past your cash. In this particular case, unless that happened in a horrible recession where there was already some significant issues with Tesla's stock price or with Tesla's credit worthiness, Tesla could borrow. I can't imagine how much they could borrow at this time if they wanted to. And then if they didn't want to borrow and they preferred to go to the equity markets, they could raise mountains and mountains of additional cash if they went to the equity market. So yes, this is a risk. Very good. I appreciate you bringing up that risk. And yes, I think that's maybe what Elon is looking at right now, being conservative in terms of how much CapEx he spends in a time when he thinks it could be a rough 2024. All right, then from Colin Kaiser, 7353. Colin Kaiser is a regular. And Colin says, the people who constructed ridiculous fantasies and then abuse those fantasies to fraudulently impeach a president can't be trusted not to perform the same level of fraud and fraudulent prosecution against someone who now controls one of their previously favorite tools of fraud creation and persecution. Loved that sentence. I'm going to see if maybe that would be something I could have my wife use for her class, and they could diagram that sentence. So he's, of course, talking about Media Matters and the whole kerfluffle over Media Matters. He says, I very much hope that Elon's heroic stand at X against fraud, deception, deceit, and fear-mongering inspires others to similarly defend their beliefs and rights in every court in the land. How soon do you suppose one of these fraudulent attacks against Elon and X will reach the U.S. Supreme Court? I would laugh if at least one of those splashed down before the 2024 election. Well, it takes a very long time to get to the Supreme Court. I'm sure you already know you need to win or lose at the trial level, and then you need to advance your appeal. Some appeals court needs to either hear it or not hear it. Unless you can advance it quickly because there's a very strong reason to advance it. Sometimes that would be where the federal government and state government can't agree. But anyway, then after you have your appeals court, then if you don't like that result, then you can appeal to the Supreme Court. And they only decide once a year which cases to take, and then they don't decide those for 6 months. So anyway, it could take a very long time. I don't think we'll be seeing that in 2024, but thank you so much for that sentence, and also for the believe me, I agree with you 100%. All right, Davis Straub Oz. So that he says, it was unclear to me that it was Media Matters report that was the trigger, or was it Elon's link to the anti-Semitism post? What he means by that is, okay, so Apple and a bunch of other people all paused their advertising, Disney, I forget who else, paused their advertising last week. Was it because of his link to a supposedly anti-Semitic post, which in fact was not anti-Semitic? It was anti-race and reverse racism or something. I don't know how to describe it, but I've had how many Jewish people say now that it was not anti-Semitic? Now, the guy who posted it might have been a creep, and that would be enough of a reason to question whether Elon should have done a little more careful analysis there. But no, that was not the reason. Stated reasons are they did it because of the Media Matters articles that went out. So that's the answer to that question. All right. So from BR-HI6YT. I love it when sometimes when I have time on the freeway, I'll read license plate and try to get it, but these I don't have time. Okay. Yes. Great list. Okay. Risks again. Elon is definitely taking substances, quote unquote. So that's a risk right there, I'd say. Was he doing that before, or is this a new habit? Does it matter? What do you think, Randy? And please tell me. Okay, so number one, Elon is someone who does not believe he doesn't drink very much at all, if any. He does not smoke pot. That was a one-time situation on that show as a joke. He doesn't do substances. He doesn't like substances. However, there is a lot of speculation that, like a lot of people in the tech world right now, he might be microdosing on hallucinogens. So microdosing is a completely different thing. It's not something you do that is habit forming, although I guess I shouldn't say that 100%, but it's something that is, let's just say, very likely to be a mainstream psychotherapeutic approach, especially to depression. And we know that Elon has issues with depression. So that's, and I told my wife one day, I might be maybe slightly inclined to try microdosing. I don't drink. I've never had a marijuana cigarette ever, or I've never taken any kind of those kind of drugs. I did have some hallucinogenic experience one time on NyQuil. That's a story for another day. All right. Anyway, I mean, that's true. That's a story for another day. All right. So let's see. At Phil, capital C 225 says, Randy, maybe you can comment on the price decreases for the inventory cars in the US. All models, not just the M3. That tells me there's another earnings miss in Q4. It will be interesting to see how the market reacts on Monday. So the market already has, maybe that was a while ago. I'm not sure when this was a comment. Anyway, the market has already had a chance to react to that. The market might have reacted last Wednesday. That might have been part of what was going on there, but maybe not. Anyway, in general, the market might react to those as a knee jerk, but generally that would be the kind of thing that later in the day they would recognize, well, no, marking down a inventory car in the fourth quarter, in particular when you've got a lot of changes happening in January. We might have the Model 3 update coming in January. We've got the change in how the rules work with regard to the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, how that's applied. So lots of changes coming in January. So it might be that the smart market individuals would recognize that this is not something that is going to hurt margins in the January reporting. So as of right now, we've had no across-the-board decreases in the fourth quarter and several increases in China. So right now, one would think that margins should be up. All right, this is Richard-CQ4KV. He says the biggest threat to Tesla is the 50% of the country who hate Elon for saying he'd never vote Democrat ever again. Okay, so yeah, I don't see that as a massive threat. There is a small percentage of the population who is going to make a decision not to do something in their own financial self-interest because of a political position taken on by the president or the board or the company in general. So for instance, I made some decisions this year not to shop certain places due to their decisions that they made as a company. I'm one of those people, but I don't shop very much, so my impact is pretty small. Now, if it turned out that Costco was the one who went out and made some significant statement of some kind that really rubbed me the wrong way, and I wanted to boycott Costco, can't do it. It's not in my economic self-interest. The people that I did boycott didn't matter that much. So call me a hypocrite or something. But I mean, I don't agree with Google. I don't agree with Amazon. I don't agree with Facebook. I don't agree with a lot of these folks. And I make a living. YouTube, I certainly don't agree with Google. So I make a living based on these companies that I don't agree with. So I know that most people are not going to work against self-interest very much because of a political position. So that's that answer. Okay. This is from Alan Kane, 1482. He says, sometimes I wish Elon would take a vacation for a month on a secluded island with no internet. Well, yeah, fortunately or unfortunately, his really big missteps usually are more than a month apart. So, so a month might not be long enough. Yeah, listen, we all gasp, we all go crazy. But do you remember, what was it? It was a few years ago. I'm trying to remember who the two characters were, but there were two national characters on television who went after each other like crazy, knock down, drag out. And there was a lot of speculation that they were both doing it to increase their ratings. Controversy increases viewership. And Elon obviously knows this. You may know that today he has now taken a position on the whole thing that's going on in Ireland right now, where those people, I shouldn't laugh, where some people got stabbed. But he's taken a position on that now. And so, but so far, nobody seems to be so worried about that. All of a sudden, when it gets into the Middle East, it has a lot more power than it does when it is in, say, the Ukraine or, in Equatorial Africa. If he took a position on the fighting in Equatorial Africa, he'd probably get no feedback at all in any direction. Anyway, all right, we've got Jaxie Benai, I don't know, Jack SIEBENALER 1264. Okay, Larry. He says this to Larry, but I'm going to answer for Larry. At what North American EV saturation point will we notice an impact on American refineries and on oil consumption? And then what about globally? I don't know if Larry has an answer to that. I don't know if he's taken a look at it. I have taken a fairly decent deep dive looking at this. I'm going to say it's going to start getting significant about 97. Okay, assuming that the curve continues to go like this. But, right now, as you're pointing out, it's not so much how many per year cars are sold, it's how many on the road are EVs. Now, obviously, even, 1,000 makes some impact, 100,000, 1 million. We got millions and millions and millions now of BEVs and hybrids, on the road. And all of that is going to affect oil consumption to a degree. But where it's really going to start, maybe even hitting peak oil. Now, Kathy Wood thinks we may have already hit peak oil, and she might be right. But I'm thinking about 97 is where we're going to see it actually having an impact on oil prices. And then it's just going to get worse and worse. Now, remember, oil prices are also impacted by, not just BEVs, but it's impacted by electric grid and everything else. Oil and gas are tied, and you can see what's happened to natural gas prices. They're at very low levels. Okay. BR-HI6YT says, I asked GPT-4 whether AGI would get depressed. It replied, yes, that could happen, but that it will be able to treat itself for depression. So I saw another article today about ChatGPT as a therapist, and this nationally recognized psychiatrist was saying that they believe that it will be mandatory to check with some kind of a large language model in order to fully analyze a patient, and that it will be malpractice if you don't check with a large language model, because they're so much better at this than the therapists are. So there you go. But anyway, that's good. I like it. All right. Harry Chu, 650. I expect the Ukraine matter to be resolved in the spring of 2024 ahead of the U.S. elections. There is no support for it among the DNC base. Well, that may be true, or at least some of the base. The progressive end of the party obviously could care less about it. But a lot of the, normal Democrats seem to be all about it. And of course, there's a part of the Republican Party that's all about it. Listen, I personally think that I don't like Russia bullying the Ukraine. I don't like the fact that Russia did what they did. I see a few people's point with regard to what the United States and the NATO did with regard to inviting or getting ready to invite the Ukraine in after inviting some of the other countries they said they wouldn't invite in by treaty. So I got some real up in the air issues there. I was going to bring Larry on to talk about it on last Friday, but after we talked about it in the green room ahead of time, Larry was like, we both agreed maybe he shouldn't be the one, because he's very, very, very strong on the Ukraine issue, feels that the Ukraine should just destroy Russia, or else Russia will take whatever they're going to take. And by the way, he may be 100% right. I'm not even going to argue that he's incorrect on that. So it's a really complex issue. Here is my optimistic view. My optimistic view is both of them are feeling completely bogged down right now. They're going into the winter, and I think Putin is tired, and I'm thinking that maybe the Ukraine is tired too. And it is a brutal winter in that part of the world, and continuing to fight after what they've been through for 2 years and getting nowhere. I think if either one of them could see a pathway to some kind of a victory in the near future, I think that the fighting would go on. I don't think either one of them are seeing a strategic method for getting to victory. And at some point, you've got to go, okay, let's sue for peace and see what the best deal we can get. That's my optimistic view. Whether that's actually an optimistic result or not, because who knows how it works out, but that is kind of where I am right now. All right, so let's talk about this for a minute. For those of you who have never seen it before. It's a Cybertruck. It is showing in showrooms all over America right now. Well, maybe not now, it's getting late. But anyway, people are lined up to see it. It's going to be the biggest deal ever. Your friends, your family, your kids, your grandkids, your neighbors, your coworkers, and the buyers who you need to get a gift for are all going to become super aware of Cybertruck between now and Christmas. So what a great gift. A super fun gift. And for $20, how can you beat it? I mean, there's just no way. All right, so $20, doesn't matter how many you buy until Monday night. And on Tuesday, it goes back to 25 for one, 45 for two, and 65 for three. So this is the time to buy it. Please remember, camo or regular. And please let me know which one you want. And if you're not in the United States, add an extra $20. No matter how many you're buying, whether you're buying 100 or 3 or 1, it's $20 extra freight. Please add that to your amount. And then, let's go. I mean, it's been a great week. Let's see if we can finish. Well, see how, what my stats turn out to be for, what do you call it? What was this thing? Black Friday. Today was Small Business Saturday. And then we've got Cyber Monday on Monday. Cyber Monday would be a great day for you to buy a couple dozen of these. All right, that's it. I'm done. Don't forget to join Patreon too. It's Randy Kirk. I've been thrilled to have this conversation with you today.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.